9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
All right, welcome to another edition of the Rising Coaches Member Spotlight. Today we are joined by Scott Daughtry. Scott, what's up, man? How are you?
Hey, Adam. Thanks for having me today.
Yeah, of course. Appreciate you being on. Scott, where are you today?
So right now I'm in Hodges Library at the University of Tennessee. So kind of a normal class day here. I'll have class in just a little bit, so just rolling.
Nice. I love it. So Scott, tell us a little bit about yourself, man. Give us your background, where you're from, and kind of how you got down the path of basketball and coaching.
Yeah, okay. So I played basketball in high school, freshman, sophomore year. So my junior year, I was like my coach, I decided I'm a runner. So I decided I was going to focus on running. And my basketball coach asked me if I wanted to come back and be a manager because I know all the guys. So I did it and I loved it. And then I was going to do that my senior year of high school, which was last year. And I saw I think I just wanted to reach out to the local college team, Anderson University. It's a D2. Asked if they needed any help, like being a manager, because I thought about doing that in college, and I did. And I got a immediate email back from Ben Johnson, the assistant. He said, like, show up on Monday, and I showed up on Monday, and that was probably one of the best experiences I've ever had. I didn't have a class till 2:00 my senior year. I had a couple like dual enrollment online stuff, but I was able to put a lot of time into AU. Showed up every day. I remember we were going to exhibition Clemson. And I asked Coach just if I could help him with some scouting stuff. I was around a lot and he was working on it. And he let me have the Synergy password and he showed me how to do stuff. And I helped him make scouting reports the rest of the season and just stuff like that. I ended up showing up a lot and they let me travel to all the away games. There's laundry, there's food, but I mean, I just love being a manager. I decided I wanted to do that again in college. So Coach Brookman and me came really close. He's a big mentor of mine. He's the head coach there. He helped me kind of make a resume, get some recommendation letters, figure out how and where I wanted to be manager at. The old AD at Anderson, his name's Bill DeAndre, he knew Coach Rick Barnes. And I kind of figured that out. And I like the University of Tennessee. So Bill DeAndre and Coach Brookman helped me contact the coaching staff at UT. And I got in contact with Coach IJ Poole, and he's a really great guy, and he signed me up for camp, so I was going to come try out to be a manager. And then coronavirus happened, and I got a phone call from him the day that camps got canceled, and he told me to stay in touch with him this summer. So I've stayed in touch with Coach IJ this past summer. Like when everything got canceled, I was supposed to, I wanted to work camps a lot of places, but I wanted to work somewhere this summer, and I reached out to a good friend of mine, Coach David Bentley. He's also a member of Rising Coaches. He does a 3-level panel, but he let me help him coach his Upward Star Southeast Select team this summer, which was a lot of fun. Give me a way to get involved up at Upward Center. I learned a whole lot from him, just like I learned a whole lot from Coach Brookman. And then this school year, I had reached out to Coach IJ like he told me to when this semester came out, and we were trying to set up a meeting for me to meet him and figure out how they're going to hire a new manager since camps got canceled. And actually, I'm a runner. I kind of mentioned that. And I was out running one day, and I see this coach running towards me, or this person running towards me. I didn't realize it was Coach IJ. But when he passed me, I was like, crap, that's the coach I've been trying to talk to. So I turn around and I run after him, and he probably thought I was crazy because I was just yelling, Coach IJ, Coach IJ. And he slowed down. He's like, because he didn't know me, I was like, I'm Scott Daughtry. And we ended up running together and talking, and then we've ran together. That was the first Saturday in August, so that like every Saturday since we've ran together. And we've kind of built a relationship. He's a great guy. Tennessee, he's confident that they're going to be able to hire a manager in the next couple weeks when real practices start for basketball. I'm hoping that that's going to be me, or I'm really hoping that I at least get a chance to try out for that. So I'm kind of waiting there. We'll see what the NCAA says today and how that affects it. But so that's me in a nutshell. It's kind of what I've done and kind of like what I want to do is be a manager here and try to go coach somewhere in college basketball.
I love it. Great stuff, Scott. Lots to talk about. First of all, before I start circling back to some of the legends that you mentioned. So just to clarify, how many years left do you have of undergrad?
So I'm a freshman right now. So
okay.
Yeah.
So you were doing stuff at Anderson while you were in high school?
Yeah, so I was technically a dual enrollment student. So I took English 101 and 102 there, but it's also taking high school classes as well as a senior in high school.
That's why I missed it, because dual enrollment for me, I had a hard time in high school. So dual enrollment was never an option for me. Okay, so going back and we saw, I'll flash it across the screen again, the Grow the Game people showing you love early today.
That's my guys right there. Yeah.
Jake and Ashton, shout out to them. By the way, just announced, very excited about it. You can receive 10% off to a Rising Coaches membership if you're part of Grow the Game. So check them out. But anyways, Scott, one of the names you mentioned early on, Billy DeAndre, the athletic director at Anderson University. I spent some time at Clemson, and he was the associate athletic director when I was there. Talk to us about him. Were you close? Did you get to know him well?
So
for people that don't know, he is a legend in the athletic admin world, and one of the best people you'll ever meet.
He's absolutely amazing. So the crazy part is that I've never met him in person. He's retired now. He wasn't the AD at Anderson this year, but Coach Brookman, I think, mentioned to me, and then I had another friend that just knew Bill DeAndre, and then gave me his information. I reached out to him. I had a phone call with him, and I told him that I work for AU, and then he called Coach Brookman, and Coach Brookman recommended me to him and told him about what I'd done for him. And he called me back, and for a person I'd never met before, I didn't really think he'd, reach out to Rick Barnes for me. But he called me again, and he said, "You know what? I'm gonna text him for you, and we'll go from there." And then I also remember the day that camps got canceled, and Coach IJ called me. I was, it was a little disappointing because I was ready to go up this summer and get to work and hopefully, get to help with the UT team. Bill DeAndre called me that day. And he said, and it was, it's a person I never met before. And it was honestly Scott, it's still going to work out. This is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do this summer. You want to keep me updated? Bill DeAndre texted me yesterday, and he's like, what's happened? How's everything going? And it's one of the things that he's given me advice, but it's also just there's not many people that will help somebody out in that way that they've never really met and had a relationship with. So, just knowing him, and that's just been so huge for me. And I owe so much to him.
Yeah, he's invested in you.
Yeah, and it's crazy because, I don't know why. He's just a great guy.
Yeah, he is for sure. And that's what it's all about, man, investing in others and helping them come through this profession, or whether it's your athletes. The more you invest in people, the more it comes back around, and that's what it's all about. The other legend that you mentioned was David Bentley, an Anderson, a South Carolina legend. How did you get to know him? Just through your time at Anderson?
So let's see. I know that, so Terrence Oglesby, he was an old coach at Carson Newman, and he played at Clemson, another friend and mentor of mine. He just called me one day during quarantine when everything was boring, and it might have been before quarantine. And I told him that I wanted to find a way to help out with, AAU stuff this summer. He had mentioned it to me. He's like, okay, hold on. And he made I don't even know how he did. He made a joint phone call with me, him, and Coach Bentley, and just introduced me to him. And then the next day, Coach Brookman kind of texted me. He was like, hey, an old manager at AU just called me about you. And it was Coach Bentley. And because I didn't even know that he was a manager at AU, probably a couple of years before I was. So then he asked me if I wanted to help him coach with the team. And this was this was before quarantine, because this was during track season. And I told him that I had to focus on track right now, and that once that got settled, I would maybe try to reach out to him and see if I could help him this summer. And then a month later, everything got canceled. And it was after camps got canceled, after Coach IJ called me and said that like I'd have to reach it back out in the fall. I just picked up my phone and I said, I talked to him once. I called Coach Bentley and I was like, hey, I don't know if you remember me. Coach Oglesby introduced me to you. Let me come help you this summer in any way I can at Upward. I'll do anything you need. And he introduced me to Rising Coaches. He told me that Rising Coaches was something that I needed to do, and he was exactly right. Started getting on his 3-level panel. I'd say I was a usual on his 3-level panel. He might not say that. He gives me a lot of crap about it, that I miss sometimes, but I say I'm a usual on it. And he introduced me to Grow the Game, the Jake and Ashton, like stuff like that. And then, probably, I don't know, a couple weeks after that phone call, I said, you know what, we're going to start stuff here at Upward. Come coach with me. And I mean, just having basketball this summer when there wasn't much basketball, like I owe so much to Coach Bentley for that. And Coach Brookman taught me at AU a whole lot about basketball, and Coach Bentley taught me a whole lot about networking because he knows absolutely everyone, and he taught me how to build a relationship with someone, and I owe him so much for that.
Well, shed some light on us. Tell us how. Tell us the secret sauce.
So I would pick up Coach Bentley for practices or like sometimes for practices or sometimes we're going Rock Hill. We'd ride together. So I get in the car and we'd start driving and we'd just be talking basketball. And I promise, like on the way there, he'd get minimum of 5 phone calls or texts with coaches from everywhere. And I'd ask him, I'm like, Coach, like he's doing these 3-level panels and he's doing these like with coaches that like, I don't know, that we're all across the country. Like he's having a coach from UT Arlington, a coach from from just different places. Like, how do you know all these people? And he's like, okay, like you need to learn how to network. So like when we're just like we had a couple really good guys on our like AAU team this summer. It was really good to like get to coach them, but like a couple guys that were going to go play D1 basketball. So like Coach Bentley, he was just kind of nice and he kind of let me like kind of take a lead on that and kind of like mentor me through that. Cause we had a coach from Tulsa, guy, what was his? Toby Lane from Tulsa. He was interested in one of our players who's, he's not going to go play for Tulsa, but he was still interested in him. And he ended up like texting me and Coach Bentley about him. And Coach Bentley told me to call him about the player. And I got to talk to Coach Lane. And then like he asked about the player. I explained everything I know about the player and how like good of a kid he is. He's the best player on our team, but he's even better just like person. And then he said, ask him about himself. And like Coach Lane told me his story. And then Coach Lane asked me about myself and I told him my story. And then like at the end, like it turned out that Coach Lane worked with one of the coaches at Tennessee. And he was like, you know what? It was just like little like connections like that. And it was like crazy, like how you learn that. And then like I'd worked going into my senior year before I worked at AU, I worked basketball camps at North Carolina State in the summer. And like, just cause it was a school I thought about going to and I thought about being a manager. So I wanted to go ahead and work camps and like get a feel of what a manager tryout was. And Coach Bentley's like, you need to stay in touch with those guys that you worked with. Cause like, they're going to be like in the coaching business one day. So like, he like helped me like reach back out to those people. And like, now he's taught me how to like, obviously not like bother people, but like build genuine connections with people in Rising Coaches and people that I've met before. And like, just because I don't see somebody for a couple of months doesn't mean I still can't text them. And like, that's something that Coach Bentley taught me.
Yeah, it's awesome. And he definitely is so well liked and so respected in the industry. And it's because more than anything, in addition to like working with great players and great programs and being a great coach, he's like just a genuine person. And it's really clear when you talk to him. So I'm happy that you were able to connect with him and he's been able to mentor you a little bit along the way. Talk about the Grow the Game.
Yeah. So, when I first got into Rising Coaches, I, was obviously just Zoom calling this summer and I, saw that there's a little manager group on there. I think I saw it on Twitter and I don't even remember who was the manager that I like messaged on Twitter. I was like, hey, can I get the info for the Grow to Game tonight? I didn't even know what it was. And I hopped onto it and it was just a bunch of other managers from across the country. And then all of a sudden we were in a breakout room and it was like me and another manager. And I just, you talk to them and then you get their Twitter and you get their phone number. And I was like, whoa, like this is kind of cool. And then I got added to a group me, and we have a group me, and there's like, I don't know, probably 150 of us in there, like maybe even more than that. And like just doing that on Wednesday nights in the summer and stuff. I know we're doing it again tonight. I think this might be our last one for a while. I don't know. But all I know is that like Jake's really close to me. We exhibition Clemson last year at AU. I didn't quite I was trying to set up like a lunch or something with Jake. We were trying to meet up when he got back to Clemson, but that didn't work out because I already went to Knoxville. But like just people like that, like meeting them through that. Like honestly, Jake and Axis didn't do such an impressive job. I got Jay Billis was on one of our Zoom calls, and like that was just the coolest thing ever. And then like a couple weeks later, he was on like another Zoom call, and I kind of already I didn't met him, but I like listened to him, and like he gave out his like phone number in that other Zoom call because there's like less people in there. And I remember, so he told us, he was just like, if anybody needs help to reach out. And this was a couple weeks ago, and I mean, this doesn't have anything to do with it. This is just me going off a tangent. But like my roommate told me, he was like, you should text him because I have this sports management project that I have to work on. I have to interview someone. So I reached out to Mr. Billis, and he let me interview him for the project. And I mean, that was partially Grow the Game. That was partially Coach Bentley because he introduced me to this coach at Rhode Island that knew Coach Billis. But it was still just like connections like that lead to cool things. And I just they're sending stuff yesterday. Like they added like a Milwaukee Bucks coach to the chat, and we've had other managers come and talk to us. Like there's a guy from the Sixers that came. Like there's a coach from like Limestone. Like I remember just like coaches from like all different levels all across the country. But more importantly, they were managers at some point, and that's kind of what we're all looking for, is to see how managers' paths are and get advice from managers and how they've made it. And that's been big for me. But what's been more big for me is that I'm glad that I know other managers in college basketball now. And I mean, just knowing Jake and Ashton and knowing other people just that I've met in the chat is, I know is going to be important in the next couple of years.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what it's all about. In addition to like networking with people who, maybe older than you and be able to like help you right now. It's like networking with your peers, so that those are the people you're going to rise to the profession with, right?
Yeah,
so that's a base to draw from. So that's great, man. I'm glad it's all working like it's supposed to for you. So what's like the plan B, Scott? Like obviously so much unknown with college basketball, with the manager situation. Like worst case scenario, have you thought about what you'll do if like you're not able to work with the Vols?
Yeah. So obviously like that's something I thought about a lot this summer because I didn't even know if they were going to be able to hire somebody. I'm confident now that I'm at least going to get a shot at it, and I'm confident that I'm going to have a good shot at it in the next couple of weeks. But Coach Bentley, like so currently, I guess I didn't say this. So currently, I'm working with West Beard in basketball. It's a kind of like a rec league, but also like it's really similar to Upward. They have like travel teams and they have like a rec league, but they also like do training with kids. So on like Tuesday and Thursday nights, I drive over there. It's like 10 minutes away. It's something that just my professor told me about. And then I send him an email with my resume. And I think because I worked at Upward, he's letting me come help just because I have experience with that this summer. But like right now we're just, you work with little kids and you, not little kids, like elementary, middle school kids, and teach them basketball, do skill development stuff with them. I mean, there's probably other high school coaches around here. Like there's 4 of us last night that were there, and we're working with these, like just developing basketball skills. And then in a couple weeks, they'll start their rec league and they need gym supervisors and stuff. So I'm planning to do that just to help and continue to build my resume. I know that, so Terrence Oglesby at Carson Newman, he knows, like I got to know him and the coach there. Oh gosh, I can't remember the head coach's name right now, but I kind of thought about maybe if the Tennessee thing didn't work out to try to, like Carson Newman's just down the road here. I know that Coach Oglesby would help me out with that if I wanted to try to help there, or I don't know. Also, just I'm a sports management major here, so there's like a lot of like I'm going to start helping with the like fan experience department. I got a little like volunteer kind of internship thing with that, and that can go into something bigger if I want it to, if I have time for it. So I mean, there's a lot of different routes I can take right now. Like I want to see where this goes with the Tennessee thing, and if it doesn't work out this year, there's always next year too. But I I want to work in college basketball, and I really modestly, and I think Coach Brooklyn would say this, I'm really good at being a basketball manager, and I'd really like to help with that, and if it's not at Tennessee, maybe it's somewhere else. But I'm honestly, like, there is plans I've thought about, but right now, especially for the next 2 weeks, I'm focused and confident that I'm going to make this work out for myself.
I love it, Scott. I love your passion and enthusiasm, and I hope it works out for you, man. I feel confident that it will. So I love it. I love it. I know you got to get to class in a few minutes, so we'll let you go. Last thing I would ask you is, what's the best piece of advice that you've gotten? Just period. That's it. What's the best piece of advice you've gotten?
Best piece of advice I've gotten. That's tough because I've had a lot of really good people give me some really good advice. So Coach Ben Johnson is the assistant coach at Anderson University, and he's going to be a head coach one day. Like 100% he's going to be a head coach one day because he knows what the crap he's talking about. But this summer, I was doing everything I can to find a connection, to get people at Tennessee to know me, to find a way because there's a lot of waiting being done in basketball right now, and especially for me, there's just a lot of waiting to see what happens, and that bothered me because I feel like I need to be doing something, especially after being productive this last year at Anderson. Like I needed to be working with basketball, I needed to be doing something, I needed to be growing myself and my coaching experience, and he just stopped me. And he said, Scott, you've done everything you can. He's like, there's a plan and it's going to work out if it's meant to work out. And there's some things that you just can't control. And you have to be okay with that. And I said, okay. I thought about that. And it's like, you're right. I'm going to control what I can control. And then I'm just going to work as hard as I can. And I mean, that's one thing that Coach Johnson taught me. I have a lot of advice, but that definitely comes to mind. I try to remember that every single day. So, I mean, he's another guy I definitely owe a lot to.
I love it. Great stuff, Scott. Well, go ahead and go to class, man. Appreciate you being on here, and really, really happy to have you as part of the Rising Coaches family.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gordon. This was great.
Oh, you make me sound old, man.
I just know you.
All right. Thanks, Scott. All right. We're back and now joined by Shelby Wheeler, associate head coach at Pikeville. Shelby, what's up?
Not much. How are you?
I'm doing good. You look like you're in the office.
I am.
What do you got? What's on the whiteboard behind you? What have you been drawing up?
Oh, that is our what we're putting in for defense right now. We're in small groups here the next couple weeks, so how we're piecing our defense together. And I'm the defensive coordinator here, so I focus that side of the ball primarily. And so just breaking it down, make sure we put it together piece by piece.
I love it. We caught you in the lab devising teams. Well, Shelby, tell us a little bit about yourself and your background, and kind of how you got started in coaching.
Yeah, I enjoyed listening to Scott because I was on the same track as far as how I got into it was through the manager track as well. But I grew up in Ohio, Northern Ohio, small farming community, and then I walked on at Florida Southern in Lakeland, Florida, and Sunshine State.
I went to University of Tampa. So
yeah. I was about ready to give Sunshine State just a ton of love in that conference. Competitive basketball every night. It was just fun to see it. Two great coaches, Jared Olson and Holly Borchers, being able to play under them and just learn. I really fell in love with the coaching aspect of the game because of those guys. Always knew I wanted to coach, but they really brought that out in me. And then I transferred my junior year to Stetson University in DeLand in the ASUN and got on as a manager and undergraduate there with Lynn Bria, and was able to really do a lot at that level, that mid-major level, the Division I. Did video stuff, was able to get it on that, but day-to-day manager stuff, travel stuff, really got into this is all that goes into being a basketball coach at these levels, all the hard work that goes into it. After I graduated, I stayed on as the director of operations for a year and really was grinding it out there. I worked also in a coffee shop and at the YMCA to make it work, and was doing all the travel video stuff for games and all that stuff for a year at Stetson, and then was set to take a head coaching high school job in Tiffin, Ohio, the next year, and decided to take a GA spot at the University of Pikeville. And within the course of my first year, I was a part-time assistant, full-time GA, part-time assistant, and full-time assistant by the end of that first season. So it was a wild first year, and that was 4 years ago. I'm in my 5th year here at Pikeville, and that's kind of what got me where I'm at today.
Okay, let's start with the Sunshine State Conference. We can't just go over it. Talk about like how good the basketball is in that league, like every single night.
Every night, top to bottom, and it's been so enjoyable. I think because the Mid-South is just like that now at the NAIA where I'm at Pikeville. But yeah, Sunshine State every night. Top to bottom, the leagues. We had my freshman year, we had a 3-way tie for regular season champion because it's just that competitive. 3 of those teams were in the regionals that year. Rollins hosted it. We were in it, and it was just competitive every night. Tough.
Did Tampa get the better of you guys in your years there?
Oh, my sophomore year for sure.
There we go.
Yeah.
Go Spartans.
Good. Yeah. Nice facility. I mean, they've made upgrades to their facilities. They got really, really good thing going on for them too.
Yeah, and it was, at least when I was there, which was years ago, it was like a bitter rivalry between Tampa and Florida Southern.
We're close. Yeah, it was close.
Florida Southern's got a lot of like they're like loyal fans.
Yeah.
That tend to be like older because it is like a big retirement area, right? In Lakeland.
Yeah. Yep.
They're mean, like old.
Yeah.
You guys are mean.
Yeah. So we'll say the same thing about Florida Gulf Coast. That was a big rivalry when I was at Stetson, and we'll say the same thing about them. That's a tough place to go down there and play.
Yeah, for sure. So what went into the decision to transfer to Stetson?
Yeah, there was some coaching changes going on at Florida Southern, and then I actually had my mom worked at Ashland University in Ohio, so I had the opportunity to go to Stetson tuition free, and so jumped on that opportunity to pay nothing to go to school at Stetson, and that's why I transferred. And my coaching staff at Florida Southern helped set me up with Lynn and her staff at Stetson.
That's awesome. So how was juggling like? So after you managed there, you got the ops job, and you had to make ends meet, working a coffee shop at the Y. Like, how was juggling all of that?
Yeah, at times I think it certainly got the better of me. I'd see that somebody who says it right, you can't multitask. There's no really such thing as that. You got to really focus on one job, and I definitely felt that at times that maybe somewhere was slipping, but it was good. I needed it to realize like if I'm gonna be all in this, then I gotta to be all in this. So
yeah, I feel like everyone's first job is always like for like no money, and you gotta do things like that to make ends meet. So always good to start with that, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
Makes you appreciate what you got.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Okay, and then talk about Pikeville, because that's another program, just like the Sunshine State Conference, that people probably don't realize how good it is. Like, Pikeville is a big time situation, correct?
Yeah, and I had absolutely no idea about the NAIA before I got here. Honestly, I didn't know about it, and yeah, it's been really great. I would say that it's very comparable to the Sunshine State and Florida Southern. For what we have is we play in an arena. We have an arena here, and as far as budgeting goes, we're blessed for sure to be here and competitive basketball every night across the board.
Okay, so you said your first year you went from like what, part-time to full-time to
actually I came in as a GA. I came in as a GA, and then like a couple months later, changes in the coaching staff, and I get the part-time job to finish out the season, and then at the end of the season, our interim head coach gets the head coaching job, and I get the full-time job as assistant.
Yeah, it was pretty good 12 months for you.
It was crazy.
Yeah, and then at what point did you get elevated to associate head coach?
Last season.
So how many years have you been there?
This is 5.
Oh, 5. Okay.
Yep. I'm 5 right now.
Yeah, and now you're in charge. So along with the associate head coach title, you're also in charge of the defense, which is obviously a huge responsibility. Also sounds like very fun. So what goes into like your planning on a defensive end, like especially in the off season? Have you been studying certain teams? Is there a certain way that you guys want to play? And how do you like come up with that philosophy?
Yeah, I think our first year we didn't know the team, and so we had a ton of just junk defenses. We played everything: 1-3-1, 2-3, 3-2, man, full court. We played everything, and since then we've kind of just tried to simplify it every year, just make it a little simpler. And I've pulled a ton of stuff from these videos, from listening to the folks on here with defense. I know we changed our pick and roll defense this year, and I pulled that my ideas for that from here. From the stuff I've heard on Rising Coaches. And but yeah, we're simplifying it to play. We play a gap man in the half court, and then we're also going to have a deny man this year, instead of having in previous years we've had a man and then we've played a 2-3 zone, some form of zone. But we're going to scrap the zone and play a gap man and then a deny man in the half court. In the past we've played when we've been deep, we've played 5 in, 5 out, and so we've pressed 40 minutes when we do that. And we play a zone press from there. I watch a ton of D1 stuff on the women's side, Georgia Tech and Alaska Anchorage. Obviously, they run their mayhem defense, and watching those guys for just inspiration and ideas.
I love it. What are you guys doing with the pick and roll this year? What's the change that you guys made?
We're gonna hedge in the mid picks, and we're gonna ice on the side.
Okay, cool. Where did you? You said you kind of
Army
got that.
Army's assistant coach. I was watching him on here, and he was talking about that. Yeah.
Zach. Yep. Shout out to Zach. He's a encyclopedia of basketball knowledge.
Yeah.
Very cool. What about like this off season during this pandemic? Like what have you been doing? Have you been bored? What have you done to kind of work on your craft, or whatever?
Yeah, I'd say like we're workaholics as far as that goes. I think every good coach kind of has that kind of instinct in them. But yeah, we've been a little bit like, what do we do during this time? Just using the resources, Rising Coaches. I've gotten big into WBCA in the last few years, got on the assistant coaches committee with the WBCA, and as part of their mentorship groups, getting involved in that. So just having connections and being able to touch base with those coaches and seeing those. A lot of the coaches in my mentorship group this year went out over this off season and got new jobs. Some of them are their first full-time jobs in college. So it was just great to see that happen for them and get to talk to them about that time. And we were lucky recruiting wise. We were in a good spot for 2020 and 2021, really. Already had a couple early signees. So we were in a good spot there. So we didn't feel rushed. Maybe like some other coaches that were like rushing and recruiting during this time. So it was a breath of fresh air. And like we said, we just simplified everything, both sides of the ball, really, in the off season here.
The WBCA seems to really do a great job with their members and like guiding them through the profession. Tell us more about like the mentorship group. Like, how does that work?
Yeah. We set it up every year, and there's 2 different groups. One meets monthly, and then one's every other couple months. And it's usually a mentor and about 3 or 4 mentees, and they'll send out questions, topics we want to talk through throughout the season. But most coaches have stuff to talk about, and questions to ask out throughout the season. And they really mix it up across levels, JUCO coaches, NAIA coaches, D1 to D3. You get a mix and talk with them. It's really nice to see the similarities and struggles, things you struggle with over the course of the year. D1 coaches are dealing with it just like JUCO coaches are dealing with it. So it's great to see the similarities and just what those folks are doing to work through those different situations.
Yeah, that's great. Shelby, any like books or podcasts or movies or shows or anything that you like have consumed recently that you could recommend? Man, we've been really listening to a lot of just different podcasts
for sure. And we're actually reading a book right now as a team. We read one every year. The QBQ, the question behind the question, about personal accountability. We're reading that one right now as a group.
I haven't heard about that one. Is it good?
Yeah, it's a short read, but it's it's really good. Walks you through different ways to just how the questions you ask yourself and negative talk and things like that. Self-awareness, big book on self-awareness for sure.
I love it. I'll have to check that out. Shelby, what's your ultimate goal?
Yeah. I definitely want to be a head coach one day, at least get into it, at least give it a shot. Right. I think, if you're doing this, you kind of want to have a shot at having your own program one day. So that's definitely the goal. I don't have a time frame on it. I'm just really trying to just grow and learn. I think just in 5 years here at Pikeville, I've really found my coaching voice here and just continuing to learn a lot as much as I can. But I definitely want to be a head coach one day. I don't have goals about what level it is or anything like that. And I think I just want to be the right place and be right people. I think that's something I've come to really value is the importance of being in a place where top to bottom, administration to ADs to all the coaching staffs, you want to have just great people surrounding you. So just valuing that. Yeah.
Speaking of top to bottom administration, Kelly Wells, we can't go through this without mentioning him. Your AD.
Yeah.
What's your relationship with him? Obviously, he's a basketball guy.
Yeah.
Had a long coaching career. What is that? You said you've really come to value that having that support from the administration. What have you noticed? Because obviously Pikeville has made basketball a priority. Mm-hmm. So what does that do for you as a program?
Yeah, I think
personally.
Yeah, I think top to bottom on Florida Southern, Stetson, everywhere, that they've really valued basketball and women's basketball in particular. When we first got here, Kelly was just the head coach of men's basketball, and our offices, men's and women's basketball, are the only ones in the arena over here. So we're kind of right next to each other, and just always an open door. I'd go in early. The back of my practice plans were filled with notes from his practice, which they practiced before us. I just take notes on just his verbiage, what he was saying, how he was saying things, explaining things, the drills they were running. Definitely took it. And now as an AD, go in his office, we trade books, just talking on different things. We just traded a couple books a month ago. So, just having that support, he's been through it and knows how to be successful at this level for sure. And just trying to gain that knowledge from him.
Absolutely. I love it. Okay, Shelby, last thing. What advice would you give to somebody, whether they're just starting out in the profession or they've been in it for years? What's been the most valuable lesson that you've learned?
Yeah. I definitely pulled a lot from the coaches that I've worked for, but I think my mantra and sticking to it for these years has just been work hard and be good to people. I think if you just be good to the people that you're meeting every day and be kind to them and then work ridiculously hard. It's more than about basketball is what our head coach Clifton Williams says here all the time. It's bigger than basketball, and so it's growing those relationships, just like I was talking about the relationships he's growing, trying to get back in the game and staying in it. It's about the relationship, so it's bigger than basketball. But work hard and be good to people.
Great advice. Shelby, I appreciate you being on today and enjoy getting to learn a little bit more about you.
Thank you. You too.
All right.